Guys, welcome to 744 Ostrom for the pregame edition of On the Beat. As Syracuse prepares to travel to Tampa to take on South Florida this weekend, joined by my fellow beat writers Andrew John and Tony Olivero. So we'll just jump right into it. We think the main storyline this weekend with Syracuse going to Tampa is a young and still inexperienced offensive line taking on a kind of a pressurized defense of South Florida. That had 7 sacks last weekend. And I'll throw it over to Tony, who had the story today in the paper about this. How does this young, inexperienced line stop this attack?
How do they stop the attack? Well, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for it, even though Coach Malone said on Monday was really the first day that they kind of got ready for it. Obviously, the coaching staff has been thinking about it for a while, and I'm sure they kind of ingrained everything that was on that film into the players. So basically, it's going to be a tough task to undertake. The front four there for South Florida is pretty darn good. They did rack up 7 sacks, albeit against Florida Atlantic last week, who is one of the 20 probably worst teams in Division 1A. But I think it comes down to just them continuing to mesh and communicating. And the thing that Maroon touched on in the story was just kind of like one-on-one matchups. People need to step up, but also as a unit communicating. That's their strength. And the thing is, with South Florida, I think the one thing that people need to recognize is the difference from last year to this year is the technique that they're using. And it's a very quick kind of speed to power. That's the way Brandon Sharp described it, technique, where they're kind of just getting right at you with their hands, using a lot of different moves. And it's just going to be, can SU stay with them quickness-wise, just kind of with their feet and protecting Ryan Nassib, and also can that communication kind of stack up there and keep with it, and kind of just hang in there with the South Florida kind of defense there. But, aside from that, on the other side of the ball, USF's going to have their running back and wide receiver return, from that Florida Atlantic game they missed, even though they defeated them 30-something to 3, Andrew. What do you think about this that matchup on that side of the ball, and how SU's going to have to fare there if they're going to get a result here?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit about the defense and how they did struggle a little bit against Colgate. Obviously, they only allowed the 7 points, but allowed over 350 yards of total offense, and that's something that they cannot do with this offense down in South Florida. We saw the defense get exposed in a similar offense against Washington. Washington also had a multi-dimensional quarterback, just like B.J. Daniels, and so they're going to be faced with a guy who can beat them in the run or through the air, and so there's a lot of options that this offense has. As you mentioned, they have a few key players returning. I look at this defense and I wonder if they made the necessary adjustments over the bye week to face this type of offense, and obviously time will tell whether or not they did.
And just to add on to what Andrew was saying, just talking to Damon Wilkerson this week, and one of the things he said was going up against the Washington offense, Syracuse defense's big players didn't make plays. Didn't stop Washington's big playmakers from making those big plays. And we'll see if they made the adjustments. Max Suter, there were a lot of missed tackles in that game. Max Suter said they've just been tackling these 2 weeks. So we'll see if they made the adjustments. But now I guess we'll just go right into our predictions. Tony, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just with the offense-defense stuff, I think in this game, what I guess this team will be looking for is, I think SU, this offense, albeit the offensive line is going to perhaps struggle and they're going to have to make some adjustments there and they're going to have to play well, I think that they can get to 20 points, just like they have all year. Even against Washington, they got to 20 points. So it will be a test of, can they get to 20 against South Florida, a team that, I think we all believe the defense is stronger than Washington, and even Andrew Tiller said the defensive line is better. The defense is probably better overall. So if they can get to that 20-point mark, that's the thing to look for with the offense. It's more so that this defense, I think, of just keeping them in the game, and I think you should expect the offense to perhaps get to that 20-point mark, but it's about, can this defense hold the offense under those 20 points. And just going into this game, SU still needs to realize, even though a lot of people are putting them in the middle of the pack of the Big East right now, and this could be a game to get them in the top 3 in the Big East, they're not getting national respect from anyone, if not most places. You look at the Rivals.com rankings today. I looked at the power rankings. SU is ranked 93rd in the country in the power rankings, in last place in the Big East, 2 spots behind Rutgers, 20 spots behind Louisville, 44 spots behind South Florida. They're not getting a lot of respect in these national rankings, and I think the main reason for it is in those power rankings, Akron's 0-5, they're in last place. So nobody is giving this Syracuse team any credit at all, or not nobody, but a lot of people are ranked dead last in the Big East heading into this game. So just prediction-wise, I'm going to go 27-20, South Florida. And I think the main thing is South Florida they've scored their most points per quarter in the first quarter. And SU had their best quarter in the first quarter against Washington. With that preparation, I think it's going to be a nip and tuck first quarter. But if SU can set a tone, not just the first quarter, but the first 2 quarters, I think they can stick in this game and perhaps take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all depends on what happened over the bye week. Obviously, it's the big unknown. We don't know if they were able to fix those mistakes that they had in the first 4 games, and if they did, then yeah, I think they do have a chance. But I just haven't really seen enough of them to really feel confident about their chances, and I do think that they still have a ways to go to catch up to some of the other top tier teams in the Big East, despite the 3-1 record. So I'm actually going to go with South Florida. 34 and Syracuse 17. I think that it won't be a blowout, but Doug Marrone said it earlier this week that he thinks that South Florida's arguably been the most devastating opponent for the Orange over the last 5 years. They've really dominated them, winning all 5 contests, and I just see that to continue this week.
Yeah, and along the same lines as these guys, I'm going with South Florida 31, Syracuse 20, and it's kind of crazy that we're talking about a 3-1 team, with still a lot of questions, but that's what the story is. And like you said today, this is Syracuse's real season. This is when it starts, and this is when this game, especially the fact that they haven't been able to beat South Florida in 5 tries. This is this could be a turning point for Doug Marrone in his second season. But in the end, I don't think they have enough talent and depth to stick with South Florida the whole way. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be close, and South Florida will probably get a touchdown in there in the end. But 31-20, I'm going with as a final score. Yeah,
and a quick variable to throw in here at the end. Something to take notice of is, even though Skip Holtz is kind of coming here and Doug Marrone is really impressed with the way he's coaching this team and getting his players to play, the variable still has to be there. That is South Florida at all, with only 1 week of preparation, going to take this SU team lightly. Because if they don't, it's going to be the team that only let Florida score 7 points there in the first half, 7-7 going to the half. And if that kind of a defense prevails there in the first half, SU's going to have a really tough time. But if they take them lightly at all, the way they played in stretches against some subpar teams like Florida Atlantic and some of the other teams they played, bad stretches, SU is going to have a very good chance. But it's about, is this first Big East team, this is a cool thing to kind of think, is this first Big East team still kind of overlooking this SU program? So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, guys, that does it for this edition of On the Beat. I'll be down in Tampa this weekend, and so be sure to check the Twitter feed for live tweet updates. I'll be texting updates too, and then definitely be sure to check Monday's edition of the paper for full coverage from Tampa. Until then, signing off from 744 Ostrom.